Hello, my friends. I missed you all very much. Welcome to our show tonight. We're going to have a very interesting evening and afternoon. Living in a country that we call the Jordan River and the Sea of Galilee Sea. Israel is the meaning all winter songs are all about glorifying rain. We never have any rain, go away songs in our childhood or growing up in this country. In a country that have an average of about 40 days of rain a year, okay, being through history, the most wars that were establishing this region were all about water. And yet today in the 21st century, Israel is in the forefront of having extra amount of water, and we actually export water as drinking water throughout the region, Jordan and other countries. So let's get started and understand a little bit about today is what made Israel to have done what he did, and how we can actually help the world with the lack of water that we're all expecting. So let us start. Hi, it's Ron Sinai. I've been involved in Israel tourism industry for 3 decades. This year I founded the Sinai Connection, which enables people around the world to invest in Israel, whether in real estate, high-tech, charity, or more. Have it in mind, we're here for you, whatever you need. Today we'll talk about water and how Israel found the solution to the problem the world is about to encounter. Let's understand a little bit about how and what the world can do with it. I do want to start at the beginning, and I think it will start even before the establishing the state of Israel. Out of understanding in Zionism that Jews will come into this land, we approached a problem. This is a desert. And throughout the time, we realized that living in a desert as human beings is not easy. If you're a Bedouin and you're roaming with your animals, you follow the herds. When you want to actually settle down and embed yourself in agriculture and cultivating the land, not having enough water is impossible. One of the greatest problems that this country is facing throughout the ages was the lack of water. I always said that Israel is a miracle by itself for existing without any sources of water. Well, we do have sources of water. We all opened the Bible. We all read about the mighty Jordan River, but then we visited this country. And we saw the mighty Jordan River. It's a little stream, a creek, something in between. Though it is mighty because it flows all year long, and in a desert country with less than 40 days of rain a year, it is something. You know, the funniest thing was that when Mark Twain arrived into this country at the end of the 19th century and saw the Sea of Galilee, he started laughing hysterically. This is not even a puddle, and they call it a sea. What's wrong with this Bible? Well, the idea is that a body of fresh water, drinking water, in the middle of the country is major in supporting this country. Yet to live on the Galilee, it's kind of hard. And to get the water from the lowest freshwater lake in the world, it's over 200 meters below sea level. If not for the Dead Sea, that would have been the lowest body of water on earth. Yet you need to drink, and the water is way down there. How do we get it up there? It took us until 1953 and the establishment of the State of Israel, when David Ben-Gurion actually created or made it happen to actually build the national water carrier in Israel. It's an actual array of pipes and canals and tunnels that gather the water and led it through 81 miles of pipes, all the way from the Sea of Galilee to the Negev area in Beersheba, with a dream that the Jews that will come here will not be able to live in this very narrow piece of land that was given to us as part of the partition plan, which is only the shoreline and the Upper Galilee, which are big ridges of mountains. Therefore, the Jews will have to move and live in the desert, in the area of the Negev, which is a desolate area with less than 15 millimeters of rain a year. I'd say an average of 5 to 15 days of rain a year. That's not enough for humans to live. We need drinking water. And the national water carrier actually took the water off the Sea of Galilee and diverted it throughout the country to green the desert. That's how the plan was, to move in people to live in this very harsh conditions. As I said, this was the first national project, but the idea of lacking of water was a constant idea. Okay, in the 60s, we realized that our neighbors, Jordan and Syria, saw the potential of harming the existence of the state of Israel by diverting sources of water that used to reach the Sea of Galilee from the Golan Heights, the Yarmouk River, and others, to divert it directly into Jordan, and by that blocking a major part, over 40% of the input of the water into the Sea of Galilee, which is the major body of water that's supposed to irrigate the country and give life to the country. As a result to this, we call it the war over water wars. It ended up in 1967 in the Six-Day War by Israel actually deconstructing or destroying the construction of Syria of a diversion canal. And as a result of that, which actually created more friction between Israel and Syria, Israel in 1967, part of the Six-Day War, conquered the Golan Heights and took it over from Syria in one major goal, to reduce the friction with Syria and to maintain a stronghold over the water sources of the Sea of Galilee, because that's the source of life of Israel. We all open the Bible and refer to water in the Bible always as life. Water is a living way. Without water, there is no life. Water resembles life. Everywhere in the Bible you see water. Think of it as life. Hence, if we are being taken out of our life or livelihood, which is the water sources of the country, we will fight for it. And that what brought in what we call the war over water that happened in the north of Israel. Yet in the 1960s, we realized that that's not enough. Fighting over what we have is not enough, because what we have to begin with is not enough. And as we started to grow, and we have to remember that in the 50s, as a result of the War of Independence, though 700,000 local Arabs had to flee during the War of Independence, over 800,000 Jews came from Arab countries to live in this country, and we need to figure out ways to maintain these mass population. And there is an ongoing waves of Jews coming in. How do we maintain these people within the country without water? Now, we need to also irrigate the land. We need to feed the people. And for all of that, especially in the beginning years of the country, we're talking about an agricultural society. How do we deal with no water? Hence come the Jewish ingenuity. And in the 1960s, we started with this amazing project, an invention that happened in Israel by an Israeli scientist who thought, how can I reduce the amount of evaporation of water? Hence, they build a machinery or mechanic installation on a pipe that actually drips the water through a way that it reduces the pressure of the water till the level of droplets that falls straight into the root of the plant. Instead of mass irrigating, we started to actually inject each and every plant with a specific amount of water, but not only water, because if there's a pipe getting into a plant and I can divert water into it, I can also divert fertilizers into it. I can do everything through liquid, and it drops straight into the roots of that plant. This amazing invention have changed the yield of plants around the world, not only in Israel. Though it was invented in Israel, it's changed the way agriculture goes in the world. Okay, it changed the way farmers around the world are working today. Drip irrigation was a major conceptual change in how we save water, because we have to understand that one major consumption of water will be industry, and agriculture is part of that industry. So that was one of the most amazing things, was let's figure out ways to solve these things. Second thing that happened is let's use the water that we already been using, okay, what we call gray water or sewage water. We already used water. There's a whole lot of water, industrial water, personal water, water that comes out of homes, water that comes out of factories, leftover waters out of washing and others. Let's use this water, and all of the water comes in Israel into factories that actually rehabilitate the water, renew the water. Israel is using or reusing its water. Almost 70% of all gray water in Israel is reused in Israel, versus around 35% of reuse of sewage water in Europe, and unfortunately a little less than 15% in the US. Israel is in the top of the world in great numbers in terms of reusing gray water and sewage water. We got to the point that using those gray water is in a level that is so clean that if in the past reused sewage and industrial water was used to irrigate trees, because the tree trunk itself kind of filterize the, how would I call it, bad elements within the water. We got today to a level of purity of the water through most of it is organic methods to get almost drinking water, or water with levels of contamination that is so low that you can actually irrigate vegetables and not only fruits that grows on trees. And I think that one of the most amazing things that have happened in Israel in the last few years, it started already in the 60s, is desalination plants and desalination technologies, starting in Eilat as early as the 60s. Eilat basically has all its water out of desalination plants. There is no sources of water in Eilat, which is in the middle of the desert. The only thing that we do know out of that notion is that when that worked, and it worked through several tryouts. It started with freezing water and then defreezing it, because if you're freezing water, frozen water doesn't have salt in it. It's actually desalinated water. You melt it, and you can use the water. It was very energetically bad. The other way will be to boil the water and then condense the water and use the condensed water. Again, requires a lot of energy. Most of what's happening today is actually using filterization and reverse osmosis to actually push water through membranes that actually clear all the salt out of it, and then reverse this situation to clean those membranes and reuse it again and again and again to create massive amount of water. Israel today have one of the largest desalination installations in the world. Basically, every desalination plant that was built here at the beginning was the largest in the world. Today, they're not. They are bigger than that, but the try of the experience that we received here actually helped the world build those desalination plants throughout the world. And the larger the desalination plant is, the cheaper the water that comes out of it. And today, over 50% of the water in Israel is actually desalination water. There are issues with that, by the way. We'll talk about it in a second. But we do have a chance today to create that much water that we can actually sell it to Jordan and to other countries in the Middle East. One of the things that happened in the past 10, 15 years with the mass building of those desalination plants was creating a reverse sea or a reverse national carrier of water from those desalination plants along the Mediterranean coast straight into the major carrier of water to bring the water back into the country from the coastline and not the other way around. A major project, the new water carrier of Israel. What we see today is that by doing those desalination, we're reducing the amount of minerals in the water, and we need to put back some of the minerals just to add flavors and to add the minerals that we actually need out of drinking water. So that problem has been solved recently. One of the things that we're still doing and a lot within Israel is working about in finding technology into water, whether it will be irrigation through satellite, meaning taking satellite photos of fields, realizing which area in the fields requires more water than others through infrared abilities, then using robot irrigation systems to actually irrigate these parts of the field and not the rest of them. I know of an Israeli company that has sensors that you attach to leaves within trees in orchards. In every cluster of trees, you put those sensors, and these sensors can tell the farmer when and where and which area of his orchard requires treatment, whether it is water or fertilization, and it's all done electronically. That's in terms of industrial use of water. I think that one of the things that actually hit me the most in the last few years was I was invited to visit in an Israeli high-tech company, a startup company called WaterGen. I urge you to look them up. They, in my eyes, are doing something that's going to change the world, literally change the world. They managed to create water out of air. WaterGen actually sucks air into devices that, through a very simple mechanism, turns the humidity in the air into drinking water with almost no energy use. A little device that can produce about 30 liters of water, about 10 gallons a day, can be put in an African family that until today had to walk for 2.5 hours to get to the nearest river, which the water there was stale, full of diseases and infected. To bring water, drinking water, good drinking water into the homes of these people. It's a major project. I will try and see if I can add a little video of them here on this live. Let's see if I can. I try to do it. Let's see if I can actually do it. I think I can. Let's try and see if I can do that. I don't really know how. Well, let's see. I think I know how to do it. I'll do it that way. Let's share. I can't do it. I tried. It doesn't. Oh, yes, I think it will work. Here it is. I'll share this screen. Here it is. No, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, I think it's going to work here. There it is. I think I can see if it works. I will be very happy. Yes. Here it is. And here we go.
Fresh water. It seems like it's everywhere, but it's not. And there just isn't enough to drink. Most of the world is facing a drinking water crisis. By 2040, large metropolitan cities will face water shortages, and millions of people will search for water resources. But there is an answer. WaterGen, creating drinking water from air for people everywhere.
All right, I think it was, I found it to be very, very touching and moving. I think part of
Local
that
humid
idea,
blower draws in air from the atmosphere.
okay, I think that this is one of the most amazing things that I've been exposed to. One of many things that we can connect you with. And before concluding, I would like to invite you all to visit our website. It's the place that will give you the ability to stay in touch with the country throughout the year through different investments and others, just exposing you to what's happening through the year, through our website and our newsletters. Even if you can't come here physically, I would love to connect with you and reveal to you all that this blessed land has to give. So see you next time on live broadcast. And in the meantime, let's stay connected. Have a great day.